Now you can also create other users. And here's what I mean by users. Users are little houses in a neighborhood. So when you log on to your computer, you have certain preferences and ways that you want to change it. I may like my dock on the right-hand side, or maybe I like to have certain sounds when notifications pop up, but if my boyfriend wants to jump on the computer, I don't necessarily want them A, in my data, and B, they may want their own preferences and their own settings. So that's where having this individual house in the neighborhood comes into play. Now, anything that's a major function of a computer, you may need to have rights to change. Let's say adding an account like this, you'll see a little lock in the left-hand side. If I click on that, it's going to ask me to enter in my passcode. When I enter it in, it unlocks right away for me. So now I have the ability to do things like add in another account. So again, we see that plus sign, or subtract one out. So if I no longer need this account, I just hit the minus sign and it deletes that data out. Now, if I want to add one in, so I'm creating a guest user, I can click the plus sign, and it gives me the ability to choose whether that's an administrator, a standard account, administrator meaning they have full access rights to the entire computer, standard, or even ones for just sharing. There's a great one for kids, so manage with parental controls, and I'll be honest, I've actually used this for my own father. So this allows you to limit functions on the computer, so different applications, the ability to install things on there. So if I didn't want somebody to be installing things on a different account, I can choose manage with parental controls, what the age range is, what their name is, the password, and then once I create that managed account, I can then choose some of the settings in there. So I can limit things like profanity from the dictionary. And this is a great way, especially if you have younger kids getting on the computer, to prevent them from going a little bit too far or running into something that maybe they don't need to be saying. You also have a guest user that is defaulted on every single computer. So I mentioned having guests come to the computer. You don't need to create a separate account. Apple has already done that for you. If I click on this, I can see this is enabled, meaning they can log into my computer, and I have parental controls enabled for it. Let's take a look at those parental controls. So again, I had to enter my passcode to change it. And you can do everything from limit people from mailing that person, limit the applications that they can use, even things like time of day. So if I don't want them to go on the computer for more than 3 hours a day, I can limit that use to 3 hours, and even weekend limits. So if it's a little bit different on a weekend, if they're doing a project, I can do that. The most important thing is the bedtime. This means a person who has a managed account like this cannot log in after a certain time of day, whether it's a weekend or a school night. What's different about the guest account than the other accounts is that a guest account erases all of its data when it logs out. So if they're going through and they're browsing through certain sites, maybe it's something that's more private like their own email, when they log out, all the browsing history, all the files that they've downloaded, everything is removed. So it does not save anything in there. If they do need to save something, you can give them the access to connect to a shared folder. So this is a little bit about system preferences. Again, there's a lot of different features in here. I would encourage you to explore. Most things on your computer are pretty much foolproof. So when it comes to making a major change, if let's say I'm going to be deleting an account, it's going to warn me 6 or 7 times. So there's no harm in going into language here and playing around to see what is inside that settings menu for me, or what is inside internet accounts. I'm going to close this down by clicking the little red button in the top left-hand corner.